Like there are some situations that I feel, in my opinion, can just be either an educational moment, you know, like if you feel uncomfortable about something, like I'm going to speak, like for example, with the Lady Hussey issue, I reading the whole entire script, I can see how she might have gotten uncomfortable if the lady was insisting, as much as she has said she was insisting, on knowing where she's from. However, that conversation could have been deaded in less than a minute if she had just simply said, oh, I am from so place, because clearly you understood what she was asking you, but I feel like she just felt like this is an opportunity to, you know, make my point, because she could have literally just been like, okay, this, or like for example, it's not exactly the same thing, but I'll give you this as an example. If I go to Nigeria, for example, and like let's say I'm in an Uber, for example, I'll have someone ask me, where are you from? The first thing I'll say is, I'm Nigerian. They'll be like, no, where are you from? I'll be like, oh, Abia, Amibo. They'll be like, no, as in where are you from? As in you understand how you're talking now, you know what I'm asking? And I'll be like, oh, London. Is that racist? There was still an insistence. Why is it different with Lady Hussey's situation? Why is it different that she's asking? You came on in a whole situation looking African, right? Your name tag, because she said that Lady Hussey moved her hair out of her face to read her name tag. So it wasn't like she described it as an aggressive situation where she, like, you know, was treating her in an aggressive or rude manner. So she moved her hair out. Okay, I understand. Don't touch my hair. That's fine. She probably doesn't know about that. But this is like, these are things that you can now be like educational in that moment. It's like you're in a situation where it's probably not something that happens often amongst the royals. This is a moment to educate, especially given the whole Meghan situation happening right now, which I don't even want to go into that because my opinion on Meghan is like a whole other level. But like literally, it was like, it could have been like, oh, don't touch my hair. Sorry, culturally, that's wrong. You know? Oh, I see your name is this, Ngozi. Where are you from? Do you know what I mean? Oh, I'm from Houston or whatever. You at this, like after 2-3 times, you should have understood. Or you could have just been like, oh, I'm sorry. This line of questioning is making me uncomfortable. It's not really appropriate for you to, because it could be deemed as racism. And then if she carries on, then we'll know that she's lost it. Like there's something obviously wrong with her.
People would remember, they might not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Okay, sure.
When Lady Hussey walked up to Ngozi Fulani and moved her hair, she had no right to touch her, right? So that gesture was depicting, you know, I can do what I please with you. There was no asking for permission. There was no courtesy, you know. So already there was an imbalance there. And so that might have triggered Ngozi Fulani, whether she knew that was the moment that the trigger came from or not, but that might have triggered her to already take a sort of, you know, defense position. And then the questions there coming, which went on longer, just as you said, Immaculate, longer than it should have. The Lady Hussey should have, you know, realized that this is going out of, you know, and let it be. But she continued, which also shows that there was lack of respect there. You know, so Ngozi Fulani felt a certain way, hence her behavior. So that's something we almost remember. People will remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, I agree with Data. That initial, you know, contact, obviously, you know, it also, you know, it also kind of shows a lack of consent as well, you know, just, you know, having someone obviously touch you without your permission. But at the same time, I also do think Ngozi Fulani kind of also took advantage of it as well and kind of played it out, you know, longer than she kind of needed to or was necessary, I guess. So I think, you know, I think it just went both ways. I think both parties had their parts to play in this situation, I guess.
If you were in that situation, Dad, what would you have done? Would you have just answered straight away, or would you have gone on about, oh, I'm British and I'm this and I'm that and I'm that, until it kind of prolonged the situation?
Yeah, personally, I probably would have just answered immediately, to be honest, and just kind of nipped it in the bud as quickly as possible, to be honest.
I might have answered just like you does, answered I'm from so and so place, but I would have felt like rubbish afterwards. I would have felt like, what does she mean by that?
Why would saying where you're from make you feel like rubbish?
I would have felt like rubbish because she came and she touched my hair without asking me.
Okay, I understand about the hair part. I'm talking
about
someone...
but because already I feel like rubbish, and then I have to answer her. It's like, So I would honestly, already she's made me feel a certain way.
But
and then I'm answering her because, and according to Ngozi Fulani, she said I'm taught to respect, so I kept the conversation going. I would have answered her because of that respect. This is an old woman, who has served in the royal family, and this is the place I'm in. I mean, I would have answered, but when I live there, it will pay me.
Well, again, we were not at this event. We don't really know what the intentions were. But there are people who, for them, that's like a sign of care, or it's a sign. It's just a gesture of like tenderness. Like sometimes some people will be talking to you and they'll be like touching your hair and like touching you and stuff. Some people do that. That's just how they.
That's when they know you, isn't it?
There's a racism.
When they
don't even know you. When they don't even know you, people do that in conversation, especially like in a social gathering. Some people do that, and then you have to make it clear, especially. And so, if it's a situation where it was another black person doing that to me, then what? All it will come to will be, okay, please don't touch me. That makes me feel I don't like when people touch me. Just the other day, I was on the line at co-op, and someone was talking to me and started like, and I was just like, oh no, sorry. Do you know what I mean? It was another black person, and this was just asking me questions on the co-op queue. But don't.
It'll be awkward. It'll be awkward if someone came and put their hand on my bum.
This person is racist. Some people
whether
have
black, white.
Some people's mannerisms are just different. Do you know what I mean? I'm not defending the lady Hussey. I don't know her, but I'm just saying.
Immaculate, can I ask you a question? Did the person that touched your hair could not believe the fact that you could be British? Or just that they liked your hair?
Well, no, they didn't ask me anything about my nationality. They were just asking me something relating to the story in which we were.
Right, and that's my point, because well, let me let you carry on, because I know you're going around, so do go.
Okay, Andy, give us a point, and then Marjorie and Jones, because Jones, I know he has a lot to say.
I mean, firstly, you touch my hair and I'm not happy with it, then I'd educate you. Please don't do it. I'm not comfortable with that. And secondly, I've learned to know that I don't always have to affect other people. I can do it's down to me to change situation and stuff. Unfortunately, the senior white citizens act differently. Their time. They have lived like this for a long period of time. It is a long process to uneducate that state of mind, the way they think and the way they act. I act differently when I see senior white citizens, especially men. I know most of them are, or they might not be, but they are used to a certain way of life that they might forget themselves. Things have changed. You look at the old TV shows, things that were on TV and people were like, okay with it. You can't even think about that now. It's just a different state of mind. And is it right for them to act that way? No, certainly no. But if it comes, talk about it, dialogue, educate. All this social media stuff for things that I think is not going to change people's mental or way of life. Me, I only spend my energy when I know it's going to affect situation. It's going to change situation, but unnecessary hype. How many people, I don't even want to mention names, that have been on TV and said the wrong thing, all senior citizen, they probably get suspended couple of months, they're back on another gig. What does it change? I think we black people should come together, educate ourselves, empower ourselves, Why are we struggling to be accepted by other races? What we do to ourselves, I think, is where it was, we allow it to happen. We talk about the Jews, the way they've empowered themselves, the way they protected themselves, and we need to have value to our lives. How many times do we lose a bunch of people in Nigeria, Africa? Nobody even talks about it. Nobody blinks. We don't cry for those lives.
I agree with Andy, because Andy, I believe, I mean, from what I've just gathered, is that Andy is really all about positive vibes. You know, it's not always like action reaction. Basically, he doesn't have energy to waste, and I think that's a very good way to go about life, because at the end of the day, it's not everything you have to do as a collective, because when you die, you're going to die alone. Of course, you have to leave an impact in this world, but you have to also make sure that you are aware of your surroundings, and you need to be aware of what would work for you and what would work against you. So if you don't want to be at a disadvantage, you probably have to just do what's best for you to stay alive, I would say, based on what is happening. And I think Jones before also mentioned like the police brutality and stuff. This is really true. This is reality, of course. However, like Andy said as well, a lot of the times we put ourselves into this situation. Sometimes we can be rebellious. Sometimes we just want to be testing the waters. And I don't think we need anyone to be testing anything, because we know exactly how it's going to end at the end of the day. So, I mean, I'm not a tester. I don't want to be a lab rat, because I've seen a lot of things that have happened. So I love my life so much, so I'm not going to do what I know might happen to me. Now, talking about the lady, the thing is that I'm a third culture kid, right? I don't know if you've heard the term TCK before, third culture kid, but I'm someone who obviously have been impacted by living in different places, which means you can't really put me in a box. You can't say that I'm from this particular country and so on. And for many years, I've always been triggered when even a black person asked me, where are you from? Because when I was in Nigeria is the country where I've heard that the most. Africa is the continent where I've heard that the most. They always made sure that I would feel like I'm really a foreigner. Because I knew already that if I'm in Europe and I'm black and someone asks me, I can understand, because I'm not from that continent. So someone might want to know where I'm from, because obviously I look different than them. Okay. But in Africa, as I look like you, a lot of them insisted to find out where I'm from. Even when I say, I'm from Nigeria, no, you can't be. I mean, okay, I said I'm from Africa, I'm African, but Africa where? Which country are you from in Africa? Then when you start to say, they were like, what is your tribe? Especially in Nigeria, I started saying, oh, I'm from Cross Rivers. They was like, you look Fulani. I said, no, I'm from Odukpani. They were like, okay, I see. That's where the conversation would end. But now my question was, how did he help you to know where I'm from? Like, do you feel happy now? Because for me, a lot of the time when people ask me where I was from, it would trigger me and it will hurt me a lot. Why? Because, I mean, based on my own life experience, like it's in Africa where I actually, I don't want to say racism, but this is where I actually experienced it. This is where I was rejected, because I come. My mom is from so country and my dad is from so country. So me, I'm just rejected. So this is the reason why I had so much pain. So when someone would ask me, I can't tell you where I'm from directly. I'll be like, okay, I grew up in Germany, so I'll be like, I'm German. Then it's the same in the UK too. You have black people. When I say I'm German, how are you German? How come you're German? You're black, and I'm like, but you just said you're British, right? So me, I can't say I'm German, but you can say you're British. Oh, how nice. So you can't imagine that there's a black German. Well, there is. So it took me time to work on that, because that question is only basically 6 months ago where I've learned, when they ask me, where are you from? I'm like, you mean my parents, right? You're talking about my color? Okay, my parents are from so country and so country, but I'm German. I mean, I live in Europe. This is who I am. I'm a third culture kid. I'm a world citizen. Is that okay for you? Okay. So as soon as I say my parents are from the conversation is done, because this is exactly what they wanted to know. They wanted to know what are the roots, So especially this lady there, I can understand that she already felt peace because they touched her hair. I hate when people, in fact, don't come and touch me. I don't like it. But for me, at that point, we can't all react the same way. I don't even know what was the tone there. I don't know how the lady was speaking, and I don't know how she behaved, how she looked at her. A lot of things comes to play. However, for me, I still feel, based on the transcript, you can still feel that it has been pushed, it has been taken a lot out of context. Basically, it's like she wanted it to go that way. I mean, if you feel that somebody wanted to go that way, you don't have to follow them. You don't need to really go in that direction unless it's something that you've been looking for. If you've been looking for trouble and somebody is coming to look for your trouble, you will just go and enter what they call one chance. And I think that's what happened in that case.
Sorry, when you say she wanted it to go that way, who are you referring to? I'm talking
about Ngozi Fulani. Why I'm saying that? Because I don't want to say I'm profiling her. I'm not going to say anything. But for me, a lot of the people that have a particular fight that they have, because you can be fighting for something, you don't have it. You don't need to have it all written all over the place, like shouting. Because for me, she's very shouty to me. When I look at her, it's shouting. Because when you see me, you know, yeah, I'm a black lady, yeah. I'm from Africa, okay? But but the name already is very confusing. You're putting Ngozi and Fulani. We all know Igbo and Fulani, it doesn't work together. But you put that name together. For me, I'm confused because when I look at the name already, I thought she was Nigerian, but she isn't Nigerian. Not that I'm going against that, but all I'm saying is that you have a fight. She has a particular fight. That's her path. And I'm not against it. However, I can feel I can feel in her answers or the way she went about it that she's actually looking for trouble. This is how I'm seeing it. It might be wrong, but at the end of the day, I'm a human being and I have the right to think the way I want to think. The same way she had the right to react the way she wanted to react. And now we see where it is. I hope it helped her or gave her the value that she wanted. I hope so.
I think I understand what you're saying, because like with the name situation, yeah, I actually didn't even know, because when I heard Ngozi, I actually thought, oh, my fellow Igbo woman, but she's not Igbo. I don't think she's even Nigerian. So she's
not
changed her name, and she goes around. When you say it's like, yeah, she's definitely making a statement with the way she dresses and everything, like, I'm African and I'm proud of it, which is amazing. Like, do that. But then when you do that, you expect some sort of reaction. Like, if I went, I don't know, to that sort of event and, you know, I was dressed in a whole different cultural attire, if you don't ask me about it, I will probably feel a bit offended, because clearly I put in some effort into my outfit. Do you know what I mean? This is not an everyday situation. Like, ask me something. You know, Jones, you completely disagree, I can tell.
No, do I disagree? Yes. I mean, when this story came out, I looked at it from two sides. The first one being, was this racially motivated? I mean, you know, if you go somewhere, just the way that Ngozi Fulani was dressed and sticking out like a sore thumb, then obviously people will ask you about, hey, where you from? Because you look different to everybody there. Myself, I've met people and I've asked them, hey, where you from? And they're like, you know, I'm British. So I'm like, okay, but you know, where your parents from? And then they'll proceed to tell me where the parents are from. Notwithstanding, I think there's an element that we've kind of glossed over, and this is covert racism. We might not see it as racism because Lady Hussey did not come out to say, hey, you black this or you black that, which is overt racism. But what is here is the subtleness that we really need to highlight, because this is what a lot of people hide behind to speak out the racist foolishness that we hear on a daily basis. And we must address this. We mustn't overlook it. If we're saying that the fact that she touched her hair, first instant, it's not a problem, then the fact that this issue happened here, not anywhere else, it happened here, so we have to look at it in the context of where it took place. The fact that she kept on pressing it suggests to me that wherever you're claiming you're from, you can't be British or you can't be English.
There are situations where individuals now, not as a collective, individuals play the race card, you know, bring up race when it's not necessary. You know, in the example or the scenario that we've been using, you can see it from the collective and from the individual as well. You know, so that there are those two sides. I am by no means saying racism does not exist. Racism does exist. Racism should be talked down on, and the striving to abolish it, which is really, really far away from here, should continue, no doubt. But individually, where we can focus on what the humanness of things rather than race, we should. I too have been down that path of playing the race card in my mind. I have, with work. But I quickly draw myself back, because even if it were the case, how has that helped me to move forward from that point? Would I sit there and dwell on that and not get on? What fights do I want to put up that would hold water? So there are instances where you're doing that for you in your individual space. And I must reiterate that played down on the fact that there is not a racism problem, because there is a racism problem. But as individuals, sometimes in smaller situations, if I would add, not to say that, not to make small of people's issues, not that at all. But there are situations where some things about race are not necessary. Just move on.